Hey, what's up, y'all? This is Lewis Speaks 2024, and I'm back in full effect. I took a mini vacation to Cancun, Mexico, because I just had to get away, to replenish, restore, and reset. I live in a very depressing city, and I also do very challenging work as a social worker, so I need time to kind of just dial it back, pour into myself, so that way I am motivated to stay present for other people and pour into them as well. So I went to Cancun, Mexico, and let me tell you, it is a beautiful, beautiful city. I did a solo trip, which means I went by myself. It is my first international solo trip, and let me tell you, if you have not taken a solo trip, this right here is your inspiration to do that. This right here is your invitation to do that. Please take a solo trip. Go outside of your comfort zone, because not only will you learn things about yourself that you never even knew existed, you will also learn about other cultures, other people, other places, and it'll definitely help you to broaden your horizons and kind of offer you perspective about the world. Where you live is not the world. Oftentimes we get stuck and we think that our limited experience encompasses the entire world, and it doesn't. There's a whole world out there waiting for you to see. You got to get up and you got to get out there and stop waiting on people. See, me, initially I was waiting on friends, trying to get everybody on board, and then I said to myself, that's exhausting. That's another full-time job. It started to become taxing, so I said to myself, it's time for me to get up and go by myself. And that's exactly what I did, and I'm so proud of myself for doing that. I'm so happy that I did that, because this trip was definitely restorative. It restored my faith in humanity. It also challenged my faith in humanity and made me see other aspects of human beings. But all in all, I will rate the trip a 10 out of 10. When I got to Cancun, when I first landed, I checked into my hostel. Now, if anybody out there who doesn't know what a hostel is like a hotel, except for the fact that you're sharing rooms with either 6, 8, or 12 people. And so oftentimes it's a cheaper option for those who are, I guess, concerned about the affordability and being able to afford accommodations. A hostel is a nice alternative, and it's cheap. So I stayed at the hostel, and I stayed with 6 other people initially, and then I had to get my own space towards the end of the trip because I wanted to be fully rested for the flight. So I stayed within the social hostel. Especially this hostel was wonderful. It is a social hostel, and what I mean by that is that it forces you to come out of your shell. They have activities, they have different events that they try to include everybody in, and you can also form a community of like-minded individuals because they have a WhatsApp community where you can link up with people that speak English, that don't speak English, that speak your language, either French or Russian or whatever language you speak, to kind of find that sense of community while there. So it was just a wonderful experience. I partook in the happy hours, in the karaoke events, in the beach yoga, and the volleyball. They had so many activities that you can definitely partake in. So I enjoyed that aspect. Hostel living is different. You have to share a room with 6, 8, or 12 people, and that can be interesting. Where I was staying, I could oftentimes hear the music downstairs, and it was fine though. Truth be told, it was fine. Everything was good. I enjoyed it. It can be challenging when it comes to bathroom and shower time, but of course you negotiate that as you go along. Let me tell you, Cancun, Mexico. Oh, it's beautiful. It's just a beautiful city. There are some challenges. I would say Mexico in general is a city full of contradictions. On one hand, there is a beautiful tenderness that you can see in Mexico. But then on the other hand, there is a tendency to exact a pain tribute. And what do I mean by that? I guess people only see that things are worthwhile if you suffer for it. They try to make you suffer for it. When I was there, I saw a lot of hardworking people, day in and day out, sometimes at the crack of dawn, even before that, 1 a.m., on the bus, going to their jobs, going to their next job and their next job. They are a hard working people, but I think also it makes them angry to see Americans on vacation in their city while they're sitting here struggling to put food on the table, to make ends meet. And here, these people get to luxuriate in the tropical suns, on the unspoiled beaches and the turquoise waters, while they have to go to work. And Mexican people, I'm gonna tell you right now, there are some hard-working people. But it's a city full of contradictions. I'll give you an example. When I was on the beach, La Playa Delfines, which is the dolphin beach, you saw a dichotomy. On one hand, it was beauty, beautiful blue water, just unspoiled beaches, people enjoying themselves, family, and then you see National Guards, men and women, walking up and down this beach with rifles, ready to shoot at command. And so on one hand you see beauty, and then on the other hand you see war. There's this contradiction. On one hand you see a beautiful tenderness, and then on the other this sacrificial, paying tribute type of situation where they want you to suffer, and your value comes from how much you can suffer, how much you can work. Out in Mexico, I've learned that your worth is in direct proportion to how much you work. And I guess the Mexican people, when they saw us Americans having fun, they were not, well, for one, we don't speak their language, and that can be insulting. I know that there were some Mexican people that got irritated with me when I didn't understand what they were saying, and I can understand that. I could completely understand that. I know it's frustrating for them. I knew basic high school Spanish, but in their book, they wanted you to know more. So I could definitely understand the frustration that they've experienced. Twofold. They want you to know their language. They want you to value their culture, which is you're a visitor. Okay, so this entitlement, I saw there were a couple of white people. I saw they were getting really entitled with the Mexican people. They were like, well, why didn't I hear what? Hold up, you are a guest in their country. You have respect. And I think that was missing in the mind of a tourist. Tourists, they don't really think about how they're a guest in somebody else's country, especially if they're American. There's a sense of entitlement with Americans that we really need to work on as a people, But I think in a way I had to check myself, because I also was trying to understand the haggling culture, because there's a haggling culture out there that I'm still kind of confused about, where you will see something, the vendors will show you something. For one, they will constantly try to get you to buy something. That's the thing in Mexico. They will call out to you. They will tell, come here, papi, I got what you need. I got what you need. They don't know what you need from a hole in the wall, but they say, I got what you need. I got what you need. They're always trying to offer you cocaine or marijuana. There's cocaína, marijuana, and you're just like, no, no, no. They'll offer you tequila, tu quiero tequila, tequila, everything is tequila. So they want you to drink tequila. They'll sell anything from tampons to baby strollers. They got what you need. And that's their advertising slogan. So they lure you into these places. You go in, you're looking, you see something that you really want, then you have to haggle with them. They'll give you an exorbitant price, and you have to try to shave it down to a more reasonable rate. And I didn't really understand that culture. I felt in a way, on one hand, it kind of was exploitative of Americans. And then on another end, it was like it kind of devalued the beautiful craft of Mexico. It kind of felt like Mexicans didn't know their worth. And so they had to kind of negotiate with the American people on what they were willing to pay, as opposed to setting a price and you paying the price, or you can leave. That's what I was used to. I'm used to seeing a price tag. Nowhere in Mexico did I see a price tag, except when ordering drinks or dinner. Then you see a price listing. But when it came to trinkets or souvenirs, there was no price tag. And I was not used to that because to me that felt exploitative. You could charge me anything. And if I loved it, you saw that I loved it, you could exploit that. But there's a haggling culture out there, and I was informed that it was a way to connect. It was definitely a social custom. But to me, it was giving, why don't you know your worth? There were beautiful, handcrafted sculptures and necklaces. And I was wondering why they were so cheap. And I guess I need to know more about the culture to try to understand why these things were going at such a discounted rate. Of course, me as a social worker, I wouldn't try to take advantage of nobody. I would try to make it fair for both parties. So that's what I definitely did. But I felt like I wish Mexico knew the gem that it was. And so I think in many ways, they do know their worth, but I also think they're battling too from a lot of things. A lot of things. I was talking to one of the drivers there, who picked me up from the airport, and he was explaining to me how there's a lot of corruption in Mexico. There's a lot of bribes that are being taken. There's a lot of just overall corruption by the government, by the police. And so it's really affected the morale of the people. It has really affected how they move. And it's funny how many Mexicans, it feels as though they're not afraid of death on one hand. They're working themselves to death. And there's a question about life that exists within Mexico, Because while it's so beautiful, don't get me wrong, it's so beautiful, there's a dark history in Mexico. And you could feel the energy sometimes. There's like this there's like a shadow there that you can't quite put your finger on, but something's going on and roiling below the surface. And so I saw that. I saw that this dark, tortured beauty. And that's what I would classify Mexico as. Mexico, in my estimation, as an American with a very limited view, I see Mexico as a dark, tortured beauty, just looking for its light, looking for its life, tu vida, and trying its best to navigate the corruption and the sense of overall powerlessness that you feel when you're there. There's a lot of cartel who tend to extort a lot of small businesses, so there's just a lot going on in Mexico. But I thoroughly enjoyed my trip. I gotta be honest, I ate some great food. I went to this restaurant across the hostel. It was across the street from the hostel. It's called Los Amigos. Excellent food. Excellent food. It's just wonderful. There was hardly any patrons there at the time that I went. And I liked that. I liked it because it made me feel like I discovered like a gem, a hidden gem. I like that feeling of discovering a hidden gem that no one knows about. It made me feel good. It made me feel at home. The place felt like love. It felt like care and concern. And I learned about myself that I love to support businesses that make me feel cared about. that you could taste the consideration in the food, in the drinks. You could taste the love. If you can make that happen, then you have a winner for a restaurant. There's very few places that can master the art of consideration in food. Very few places. I maybe went to, I would say, 3, 4 in my lifetime. There's very few places that can master the art of consideration in their cuisine. If you can do that, you have a winner, especially in this time now, because a lot of people are not being loved, they're not being considered. So if you could put the love in the food, the care, the concern, the passion, the presentation, you got a winner. You got a winner. And so this place was a winner. And so I thoroughly enjoyed the food. I went to Tulum. I went to this statue that I've always wanted to go to. It's called Ven a la Luz, which translation means come into the light. And it was my dream. It was my dream to see this statue in Tulum, Mexico. And it's also my dream to visit Tulum and really explore Tulum. And I'm going back definitely to do that. But I went to this sculpture and saw this statue. It was beautiful. It was just a wonderful, wonderful sculpture. And you could see the craftsmanship. You could see the beauty of the town of Tulum. And just the wealth and the richness of God's creations. You don't need money. Pesos, chavo, you don't need that. All you need is access to the beach, access to the cenotes, access to just the forests and the ruins. There's so much wealth that God just created. It's His creations. I gotta say, this trip was definitely wonderful. I learned a couple of things. I met a wonderful woman who decided to world school her children, and she's now trying to take up residence in Mexico. She's battling an autoimmune disease, and she's still out there fighting, still with this tenacious, indomitable spirit, fighting. And it was wonderful meeting her and seeing her journey and talking with her about her experiences and just getting insight into Mexican culture. And just, it was wonderful. It was definitely wonderful just to connect with other people. And everyone there at the hostel was friendly. Another contradiction. Hostel, friendly. But yeah, it was just a beautiful contradiction. A beautiful contradiction. You know? Just beautiful. And I definitely would recommend Cancun. I recommend Mexico, period. And I recommend that you speak the language if you can. Definitely learn Spanish. And respect the people there because they work so hard. They work tremendously hard to provide pleasure to people. You know, the woman that I met, she told me about a quote. She said, "Dear Americans, for you this is a vacation. For us, our daily nightmare." And I was like, wow, you're not aware. You're on vacation, trying your best to relax, but sometimes it's difficult to relax when you see the suffering of other people. And this is when I learned that I was a born healer. This trip, I really learned that God, Jehovah God, has created me a born healer. He has tasked me with the responsibility to provide love and healing and to lead people to Him. And that's what I realized on this trip. And sometimes you don't want this responsibility. Like, I didn't want this. I wanted to relax and have fun and just live and just enjoy opulence and luxury. But sometimes when you are a born healer, you cannot turn away from the suffering of other people. It's almost as though you're drawn to these people or they're drawn to you. And so I learned that this is definitely my calling. I picked the right calling, social work. And while social work is challenging, I cannot turn away from the suffering. You can. Yeah, maybe it's easy for other people, but for me, I just have a different lens. I have a different perspective. I'm looking at people and I'm seeing the beautiful resilience that they have. And I'm learning how to tap into that resilience as a measure and as a means to kind of help lift people out of their despair, because there's a lot going on in this world and people they need hope. They don't need marijuana, cocaína, tequila. They need hope. Hope is the drug that people need. And that's why if you can inspire hope in the lives of other people, if you can plant that seed of hope and water and nurture it and help it blossom, that's how you help people. And that's how you save the world. But I tell you, Mexico is such a beautiful, beautiful city. It really is. To be honest, when I was there and I was in Tulum, for a brief moment, we were there for like 25 minutes on a tour, I realized that this is where my heart is calling me. It's a simple town. It's a beautiful town. It's just every day you wake up to these beautiful, lush palm trees and this coconut essence just wafting in the air. It smells clean and fresh. It's just beautiful, you know? So I learned a lot there. I learned a lot about myself in terms of how to navigate feelings of loneliness, because I'm gonna be honest, there were moments on this trip where I did feel lonely. And I had to ask myself, what moments were these? What moments did you feel the most loneliest or the most lonely? And I would say on the beach, when you see other families and men with their girlfriends just holding each other and taking pictures, and you have to use your selfie stick and your tripod, and you make do, but then sometimes you feel like this sense of isolation, and how to navigate that. Definitely involvement, putting yourself out there. I got involved over at the hostel, and that definitely made you feel less alone. I think also engrossing yourself in an activity, be it photography, be it reading, some form of activity, involvement is the cure for loneliness. Remember that. Write that down. Involvement is the cure for loneliness. The more involved you are, the less time you have to feel lonely. So that definitely helped. I think also going out to eat at the restaurants, when you see other people laughing and toasting and doing the boomerang on Instagram with their glass of margarita or whatever they were drinking, and you're there eating by yourself, that can definitely make you feel this pronounced sense of loneliness and isolation. But you manage. And then you also reflect on the peace you have and the freedom you have, and how you don't have to be on anybody's timetable or wait for them to get dressed, or if they don't want to do something and they have a bad pessimistic attitude about it, you always feel good about what you want to do. It always matters to you, and you participate. When you're with other people, I don't know if y'all ever experienced this, but I know that there were times when I was in a group and there would be always some Debbie Downer who didn't want to do what I wanted to do. And it kind of it put a wet blanket on the situation. It put a damper on my motivation and on my zeal to do it. So traveling alone, you always have the zeal. You always have the desire. It doesn't get extinguished. You want to do what you want to do, and you have the freedom to do it without the opinions or the negative attitudes of other people, I also learned on this trip that people are haters. When you go on vacation, people are jealous. They're jealous. They can't be happy for those who are actually enjoying life. People are pathologically miserable. While some people were congratulatory and positive and very, very just happy for me that I went on this vacation. There were some other people who weren't. I remember posting some pictures and this person commented, "Oh, here he goes again, posting all these pictures of himself." I didn't say anything. I just deleted his comment and blocked him from my page. Unfriended, blocked, deleted the comment. And I've learned all 2025, next year, I'm not saying a thing. I'm taking action. Anyone who's a hater, anybody who's pathologically miserable, anybody that wants to try to undermine my joyful life experience, they gotta go. Delete, block, cancel, unfollow, unsubscribe. They gotta go. We're not here for that 2025. We are only here for people who genuinely, operative word, want to celebrate your life journey. If they do not want to celebrate your life journey, if you see that they're always trying to center themselves above your life journey, if you're talking about your life experience and they want to just interject their own life experience to try to just cancel you out, get rid of those people. Get rid of them now. They're not friends. True friends want to hear about your vacation. What is your experience like? Tell me the best thing that ever happened to you on this trip. Things like that. If you don't have people in your life who can genuinely celebrate you without being jealous or envious, they gotta go. They gotta go. Me, I am at a new place in my life where I no longer want to deal with people who are insecure or people who cannot manage their insecurities. Because we all have insecurities, right? But when you allow your insecurities to affect your ability to be happy for someone, when you allow your insecurities to undermine somebody else's life experience, that's when they become problematic. I can't deal with insecure people or people that like to project their insecurities onto me because they're dangerous. They'll do anything for validation, even if it means cutting my head off to stand taller. And that's what I've learned. That's why I cannot deal with insecure people. If you're insecure, if you don't like your life experience, if you want to sit up there and hate on other people 24/7, that's you. You can go over there with that. Not here, you won't be doing that here. Here, we have genuine people. Here, we celebrate each other and we uplift each other. If you can't uplift, you gotta go. And that's what I've learned this trip. No excuses. No, oh, well, let me try to love them and maybe they'll be happy. Well, let me try to make them feel good so they can be happy for me. Or let me try to do something for them so that way we can share the joy. So, no, they're haters. They gotta go. The end. Stop making excuses for people's poor behavior and start finding your escape hatch to get away from these people because you deserve to live a happy life. And that's what I realized. I deserve to live a happy life, and I made this trip happen. I was a little skeptical at first about going. I said, I don't know, this is my first solo trip. I don't know. I wanted to go with somebody. I was a little nervous. Fear tried to eat my soul, but I ate its soul. I ate that fear for lunch, and it was delicious. And now it's transformed into courage. And I'm proud of that. And now I set a precedent. I set a precedent, meaning that I can always refer back to this trip as a symbol of courage, as a symbol of, ingenuity, creativity, execution, planning, then executing. Yep, I'm proud of it. I'm proud of me. I'm definitely proud of me for going on this trip. And so this right here, I'm gonna tell you right now, if you're waiting for a sign to book that trip, let this be your sign. Let this be your sign to book that trip and go solo if you have to. And not even if you have to. Go solo because you want to. Go solo just to feel the beauty that is solo travel. I am a firm believer. Let me tell you, I can't wait till my next trip alone. I really cannot wait till my next trip alone because the thing about it is this: you will always connect with someone or something, be it the beautiful beach, be it the native people, be it the cuisine, be it just the attractions. You'll connect. You will connect. But most importantly, you will connect with yourself. Because at the end of the day, what I've learned also is that you have yourself. You have yourself. And that is enough. So please book that trip. Go on that vacation and enjoy yourself. I love y'all. Thank you for listening. Peace.